I wanted to make a video about pressing into Pincha, into Forearm Stand from wide legs. So a couple things I want to say about that real fast. That is, in order to do any press work of any kind, I'm a firm believer that you should first be able to hold the thing that you're pressing into. I know there are some people who do press work before they can hold things. I think you should have a strong hold in your Pincha before you do the press work. So Pincha, of course, is forearm stand, and when you do forearm stand, you have this space, unlike the low arm balances, like crow and asana, where you're just balancing on this part of your hand. In Pincha, you have this entire distance here from your elbow into your hand, and you should really need to utilize that in this press to push off. So make sure that you have this entire space here that is touching the mat, and you're going to use that to press away. So have that entire area turned on. When you get to the mat, especially check your distance, because what tends to happen for most of us is this part tends to flare out. If you look from the front, so taking pictures is really beneficial here. If you take a picture of yourself from the front, you see this, you'll see your elbows tend to flare out. You want your elbows in line with your shoulders, because what tends to happen is as they flare out, there tends to be this sinking in. You want to push down as much as possible into the mat, not just when you're holding Pincha, because obviously you want to do that when you're holding Pincha. That's going to protect your neck and your shoulders and also your lower back, but also when you're pushing off, because that's what's going to get you off the ground. It's going to help lift your legs. So as you're pushing, you want to really think about pressing with this area. So press here. But before we get into the actual pushing and pressing of the press, there's another thing that I really want to talk about, which is the holding of Pincha itself. So what I see a lot in class, in people doing Pincha, and on IG, people doing Pincha, and I'm not saying this is you, but I see other people doing, and I will say that this is what I did when I started too. So from experience, I can speak to this. So people kick up. That's how most people learn to get into it, is they kick up. Or they hop, it's the same thing. Hopping and kicking are the same thing. They kick up, and they get up there. And it's a hold, for sure. You're up there and you're breathing, but it's not, your whole body's not turned on. You're up there and you're balanced, for sure. You're not using a wall, you're balanced, but your whole body's not engaged. And by that I mean, if someone tapped you, you might fall over. Or if someone pulled on you, you might fall over. Or if a kid ran into you, you might fall over. And that's okay at first, but in order to do a press up, you have to have more stability than that, because there's this movement that's required. So in order to work on a press up, practice not just stable holding of Pincha, but practice movement of the legs in Pincha first. That's really going to help with your Pincha press up. And also practice the negative of the press up. So once you get up to Pincha, kicking, practice lowering the legs as slowly as possible, because what goes down can come back up. So anytime you want to get a press, work on the negative of it too. So practice moving the legs down wide as slowly as possible. So for Pincha, even if you can't get the legs up in the press yet, right? So say you're still working on the legs this way, pull them up, right? Bring them wide and go as slowly as possible. Slow, slow, slow. Slow, slow, slow. Slow, slow, slow. And bring them down. And that type of movement is really going to help, because it teaches your body exactly what needs to be engaged to pull them up that way. So that's one way you can practice to get the legs up. Seems maybe counterintuitive, but it's going to be really helpful to pulling the legs up that way. The other way you can really help prepare for the wide leg straddle press is, again, not just movement of the legs, so that's one way, not just the negative of the straddle, but also pressing up from headstand. So you should be able to, I'm assuming that you're able to straddle headstand press. That's just the given. You should be able to straddle headstand press. If you can't do that, go back, straddle headstand press. That's necessary. The other thing you should be able to do, absolutely, is with your legs wide, lean forward and get your forearms to the ground. If you cannot reach your forearms to the ground, then you're not going to be able to pincha press, because that's just basic flexibility. If you can't do this, there's no way your legs are going to come off the ground. So the other thing that you need to want to be able to work on here is from headstand. So you do the press in headstand, and then start to lift the head, but keep your legs fully turned on. Engage your abdomen, engage your core. Turn the legs on. Your head's off the ground, but the whole body's engaged. So this is not an accidental lift, right? It's not an accidental catch. The whole body's engaged. And then come down. Right? So that's very different than an accidental kick up. The whole body has to be engaged for you to lift up that way. You're lifting straight up. It requires a different sort of engagement of the muscles to pull yourself up and hold that way than it does to kick up and catch. Okay? So those are the sort of the three things that I would say to work on if you're working on the straddle press. Those are the three things I would say to work on. One is movement of the legs. So practice moving around and staying stable. Two is the negative lowering as slowly as possible of the legs. And three is the press up from headstand, straight up. So work on the pressing of the arms down, making as much space between your head and the mat. And then last, after those things all feel pretty good, you can start working on the actual straddle press. Now, so to do that, you might have to play around with the space of your legs. Okay, so you can play with what feels comfortable. Maybe it's closer and maybe it's wider. And when you do, you want to see, so you're going to put your forearms on the mat and you're going to see, again, that distance. So check the distance of your arms. Make sure your elbows aren't doing that splaying thing. Because when they do, you're going to get your face too close to the mat. As they splay, your face is going to get really close to the mat and you're going to sink into your shoulders. And you don't want to do that in pincha or the press. You want to be strong through here. You want to engage this part of your back, press up here in between your scapula. So press here, press down strongly into the mat. So this needs to be fully engaged and turn on. Draw your shoulders away from each other as you press. So as you go to do the actual press, you're going to lean forward a little bit. So you're going to come over. Your shoulders are going to come slightly in front of your elbows at first. As you become more proficient in the press, you're not going to need to do that. But to start off, you're going to lean forward slightly, come up high on your tiptoes, lean forward slightly, and feel your feet lift. All right? They might not go all the way, and that's okay. Let them stay halfway up. That's okay. Okay? If they don't come off the ground all the way at first, that's okay. Work on coming up high on the tiptoes. Work on leaning forward. Keep pressing the ground away. Make as much space between your face and the ground as possible at first. You want to work on strengthening this space here. Press the ground away. Don't sink. Press. And work on those other three things that we talked about. Make those strong. Make them stable. And then come back to me with any questions. Okay. Hope this helps.